We got to move on to our next game. We have the Titans falling 6-20 against the Texans. I believe we both picked the Titans in this one, but that was before we knew Mariota wasn't going to play in this one.
Well, yeah, and this division is a complete mess. Right now, the 3-5 Indianapolis Colts lead it, but at this point, anyone can win. I mean, if someone just goes on a 3-game winning streak, 2-game winning streak, a hot streak, they'll be. I mean, who knows? This division is wide open.
Yeah, definitely wide open. And Houston's defense showed up to play in this one. That's kind of a surprise. But then again, they're going up against Zach Mettenberger. Zach Mettenberger last year, everyone was talking about maybe being the Titans starter. Then they bring in Mariota. And Mettenberger's gotten some chance to show he's still someone they should consider for the first-string guy. But he just hasn't been playing well at all, especially in this game, too. But he had like 2 picks, a pick.
Yeah, and it's hard to get in any type of groove when he hasn't been starting. He hasn't played at all. I'm sure he didn't get very many reps up until this week. Really kind of couldn't get into any sort of groove, whatever. The big story in Tennessee, though, is the firing of Kent Wisenhunt, their former head coach. That's big for Mariota because all of a sudden you draft a rookie quarterback, you expect Wisenhunt to develop him, but now, I mean, who knows at this point what's next? They're going to evaluate, I'm sure, the coaching field to see who their next guy will be.
Yeah, I think that was a poor decision by the Titans. You know, they're 1-6, but they're probably the best 1-6 team out there. They're a team that's lost some really close games. They've had a lot of bad luck. Mariota's been hurt. You know, they should have just given more time in this one.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So, moving on to the next game, we have the shootout of pretty much the season. 52-49 victory for the New Orleans Saints. After a poor start, New Orleans moved to 4-4, and the Giants drop a game, leaving the NFC East wide open.
Yeah, Drew Brees played both quarterbacks played exceptionally, but the Saints pull out with this one. I believe they've won 3 in a row now. They're still. I mean, it's still going to be a pretty big task to ask them to see if they can make the playoffs. They're better off as a wild card team, but you know, if they're hot, they're hot. This is a team that's won a Super Bowl under head coach Sean Payton, excuse me. So you know, after losing that tough game to the Eagles, they've really revamped this offense and especially their defense.
Yeah, this team has completely shifted directions from when they're starting 1-3. Now what? 3 straight wins.
4-4.
Four straight wins. So you're looking at this game. You got to be any team going to play the Saints has got to be scared. The way Drew Brees has been playing, 7 touchdowns in this one, 1 interception. Eli Manning in this one, great too, with 6 touchdowns. But they're just. I think the Saints are a team that's got to be scaring some teams in the NFC right now.
Yeah, I think so too. You don't want to go down there and play them in New Orleans.
All right, moving on to our next game, the San Francisco 49ers going up against the St. Louis Rams. 27-6 victory for the Rams in this one. Colin Kaepernick benched after the game. He will not start next week. So what's your take on all this going on?
Well, it's a mess. It's a disastrous time right now in San Francisco. I know many beat writers have come out and pretty much hammered the nail into Kaepernick. Not just on the field, but also off the field. And I think a big part of it has to do with locker room chemistry for Kaepernick. Not getting along well with teammates, with coaches, whomever it may be. Supposedly the report is that he's on an island in the locker room. Jim Tomsula has come out and said that's not true. But, why else would they bench him to go to Blaine Gabbert, who hasn't had any NFL success at all? I mean, granted, he was in Jacksonville, but I don't anticipate things getting much better in San Francisco for Gabbert or for the Niners.
Yeah, Kaepernick has definitely played poorly this season. This game, I think, put the exclamation point on it. That one play on the goal line, a play where 2 receivers obviously uncovered, wide open, jumping up and down, wanting him to audible, and what do? You're not reading your defense and you hand the ball off. So
yeah, I mean, it shows how much the Rams respected Kaepernick's arm.
Yeah, it's not just his arm's the issue. It's the fact that he can't read a defense. You got to look around before the play, even if you're calling a run play. The guy's just got some issues. He might as well just, this bench role may do him good, actually look at the film and learn how to read defenses from the sideline. Something to help him out.
Yeah.
Oh, moving on from that mess, we got the Buccaneers beating the Falcons in an upset. Jameis Winston not spectacular, but not making any big mistakes. And another offensive struggling game for the Falcons.
Yeah, they moved the ball quite well. I believe they didn't have to punt late. They might have actually had a punt. They were turning the ball over so many times, though. That really would cost them this game. I'm surprised they even made it to overtime. I mean, that game could have been well within reach of the Buccaneers winning in regulation. Give credit to the Buccaneers for forcing those turnovers. Doug Martin has had a good bounce-back year after struggling the last few years due to injury. Lovie Smith and under Lovie Smith, Jameis Winston has done some nice things apart from that Week 1 debacle to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, give credit to Lovie Smith, that Tampa Bay team. Doug Martin's pretty much carried this team. He's done enough to make sure Winston's mistakes haven't sunk him in some games. Winston's still got to play better. Not making mistakes, but not making too big an impact in the passing game.
And that's the biggest thing for a rookie quarterback, I think.
Yeah. You don't want to make mistakes. And for the Falcons, you got to be frustrated. You're struggling offensively with keeping the ball in your hands. If you're driving, you've got to find a way to score. They're not finding ways to score, and it's hurting them. Back-to-back weeks against the Titans and this week.
I'd like to see them get the running game a little bit more involved. They have two of the better running backs in the league, so let's utilize them. I'd like to see that. I mean, Matt Ryan is a heck of a quarterback, but let's spread around the football.
Yep. Moving on to our next game, we have the Jets and Raiders. Raiders pulling off a 34-20 victory. Excellent performance by Carr. Carr's having a phenomenal season. The Jets, a notable injury, Brian Fitzpatrick hurting his right thumb or left thumb.
Yeah, a torn ligament, non-throwing hand, so left thumb, yeah.
And Geno Smith coming in, doing a poor job. Other than, well, he did a poor job his first series. I think it got better as the game progressed. But another big injury. What ended up happening with Brandon Marshall? Was that a hamstring or?
Yeah, he had a couple injuries in that game. One of them, he went down on the opposite sideline, the Raiders sideline. Then he got back up, went into the game. And the other one, a play where Crabtree juked him out of his shoes, and it looked like he just fell back. I'm not sure exactly the specifics on the injury. But nonetheless, a good performance by the Raiders. Like you said, Geno Smith came in. He struggled early, but kind of gained composure late in the second half, or in the second quarter, rather. The Raiders definitely were more, they weren't as, what's the term? They were more light on defense. They weren't playing press coverage. They were dropping back into a zone. They gave up pretty much everything underneath, similar to what they did against the Chargers. But Philip Rivers is a better quarterback than Geno Smith, so he's not going to pick you apart as much as Rivers will.
Yeah, definitely. We got to move on to our next game, the Seahawks and Cowboys. Cowboys falling in this one, 13-12. Seattle struggling offensively. I think this is a team that they got lucky again. They definitely did not outplay Dallas. Dallas just couldn't put the ball in the end zone, and that really ended up hurting them in the end.
Well, I think on the defensive side, they did outplay them. I think Richard Sherman did a great job shutting Dez Bryant down for the majority of the game. But offensively, yeah, I'm with you. They need to do a better job playing football, playing offensive football, moving the ball, moving the chains on third downs. The biggest thing is the offensive line. Give some credit to Russell Wilson, though, for doing an okay job with that terrible of a line. I don't think many more quarterbacks would do the job that he's doing with that. With that mediocre offensive line play.
Moving on for Seattle, do you think they're a team that's gonna make the playoffs? Because it's not looking too great for them right now, being at 4-4.
They're gonna have to get some offense. They're gonna need to put up some points on the board. They're not doing a great job of that now. If they can get some offense going and get some consistent line play, I think they do. But if not, then no.
And another big thing with Seattle, they haven't really gotten the run game going too much this year. It's been hurting Russell Wilson's ability to get the offense moving passing wise. He needs both that run game. He's a balanced quarterback. He needs both that going at the same time, and it's hurting their offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So that does it for that game. Surprise game this week. The Broncos putting a beat down on Green Bay. Rodgers had no time the whole day. I think Denver really showed that their defense with Chris Harris, with Aqib Talib, with Von Miller, that defense is probably the scariest defense in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. The way this, and also the play up front and the depth they have. I mean, they have guys, their second, third string linebackers, linemen, they can come in and play just as well as the first stringers can. It's incredible. I mean, losing Terrence Knighton, I thought was going to be a big bust or a big problem for them, but it really hasn't been.
No, and this is a defense that's solid all the way through, and we've seen what happens to teams that don't have solid defenses. Look at the Packers in this game. They don't have that depth. They have good first-string guys, but after that, you lose Sam Shields. Who else did they lose in this game? They lost another secondary guy. I believe it was Demarius Randall they lost. You lose those two guys, and then Peyton Manning's just picking apart your coverage.
Yeah, Peyton Manning had a good bounce-back game. I still have questions on the offense, but like I said, defensively, this team has just been so dominant all year long, it doesn't matter. They've been scoring points. In this game, they didn't have to score any points, but they made Rodgers look, like it's just something else. I mean, that was, I think, in my opinion at least, Rodgers' worst career game. I mean, he didn't, I don't know if this, I believe that he didn't have one completion to his first look. It looked like consistently throughout the game he had to look down to his second and third options.
Yeah, he was not getting any looks. The coverage was pretty much spot on. No one was open. I think, going back to your comment for Rodgers' career worst game, I would say no, this is not his worst career game. I'm going to go back to Tampa back in 2009, where he had his only 3-interception game ever. In this game, Rodgers didn't make mistakes. I wouldn't say it was a bad performance on his part. He was like 14 for 22, but the yardage was not there. But it's not something you can really put on a quarterback when your receivers are not getting open. And if I'm Green Bay, I'm concerned about your receiving core. Although next week you're finally getting Ty Montgomery back, but you can just see how much they struggle without a speed receiver. You've only got Randall Cobb. That's your only fast guy. And you're trying to go up against defenses who have fast coverage guys, and no one's getting open.
Yeah, I think back to Rodgers, I guess I just expected more out of him. I understand how good this defense is, but to be the best quarterback in the game and just put up 77 yards, I mean, there was nobody open, granted, but I did expect a little bit more out of him, rather, in this game.
I mean, yeah, you'd expect more out of him, but you're not getting any time. You're not getting guys open. There's not much else you can do. It's just that sort of situation where everything's falling apart around you, and you're just not getting anything going your way.
Yeah, and that pass rush for the Denver Broncos is also ferocious. When you have Von Miller on one side, DeMarcus Ware on the other, it's a tough task.
So if you're Green Bay, are you worried going forward, or are you?
Well, they play another really good defense this week against Carolina. It's going to be, I believe that game is in Carolina too, and they have all sorts of momentum, the Panthers do. I just think you have to go back to work, and you're not going to win them all. I don't think you want to win them all, at least not in my opinion. You don't want that pressure of being undefeated, then moving on to the playoffs. So I don't think there's a whole lot of worry. I mean, even if you lose this one to Carolina, as long as the close contest closer than the the Broncos game, I think you're going to be okay. I don't think they're 6-1 right now.
Yeah, they're 6-1.
Even if they fall to 6-2, I don't think it's a big problem. I mean, going on the road and having to play Denver and Carolina, that's no easy task.
No, it is not an easy task, and they've played a lot of tough defenses this year. When you look at it, you've gone up against Seattle,
St.
Louis. Chiefs aren't a bad defense. You've gone up, so now Denver, and now you're going up against Carolina. Rodgers has really been up against a lot of tough defenses this year, and going up against tough defenses, it's only going to make your unit stronger the next time around.
Yep.
All right, so